Hello, Sean with Sugar Shack 7. Today is an awesome day to be alive. Today we're going to talk about 30 facts about Vikings. One question is, did you know that Vikings had a form of martial arts? Very, very interesting. We're going to talk about that here shortly. Make sure you listen to the whole video to hear about that. But before you leave, make sure you give us a big old thumbs up on this video. Believe it or not, it really helps us in our YouTube ranking. Also, we've got a lot of awesome videos here at Sugar Shack 7. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out. Are you ready? Let's go. Number 1, Vikings never wore horn helmets. It's possible that painters made up the horn helmets during the 19th century. Number 2, the word Viking means a pirate raid in the Old Norse language. Number 3, the age of the Vikings lasted for just under 300 years between 900 AD and 1066. Number 4, surprisingly, Vikings have been known to have a fantastic hygiene. Archaeologists have found tweezers, razors, combs, and even ear cleaners at excavation sites. Vikings bathed at least once a week, which is more frequent than other Europeans of their time. Number 5, due to Norse religion, it was believed that warriors went to incredible realms after their death. Therefore, burying their dead in boats was common to help reach the afterlife. In the boats, the dead were often sent off with their weapons, jewelry, and sometimes even sacrificed slaves. Number 6, primitive skis were developed 6,000 years ago by Scandinavians. By the time of the Vikings, the Norse used skiing as an effective method to travel as well as for fun. They even had a god of skiing. Number 7, the majority of Vikings spent their time farming barley, rye, oats, as well as raising cattle, goats, pigs, and sheep on farms just big enough to support their family. Number 8, due to the beauty ideals of Norse culture, brunette Vikings, often men, would bleach their hair. These treatments also help with head lice. Number 9, the Vikings never called themselves Vikings, and they did not think of themselves as a united group. They were a series of chieftain-led tribes that fought against each other throughout Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. Number 10, the Vikings practiced Norse paganism. The head of their gods was Odin and Thor. It was thought by the Vikings that if they die in battle, that Odin could choose them to bring them to Valhalla. Their version of heaven where only the legendary Norse heroes go. Number 11, 500 years before Christopher Columbus found the shores of America, the Vikings landed on what was now Canada around AD 1000. Number 12, compared to other cultures, Viking women had more rights than most women. Viking women had the right to divorce their husbands and inherit property. Number 13, it's difficult to gather information about Vikings because they never wrote down their own history. Most of what is known about Viking raids and customs comes from their enemies documented about them. Number 14, there were 4 major classes of Nordic societies: kings, Jarls, Karls, and Thralls. Kings were rulers, Jarls were noblemen, Karls were farmers, tradesmen, and builders, while the Thralls was the slave class. Number 15, Vikings who would go into battle in a trance-like state of rage were called berserkers. It was said that they often wore bear or wolf skins into battle. Number 16, 20% of the English words are derived from Old Norse. Some of these include anger, ugly, weak, skull, and slaughter. Number 17, some of the Vikings kept pets, from cats, dogs, falcons, peacocks, and bears. Bear cubs would be caught as cubs and then raised by Viking families. Polar bears, however, were reserved for noblemen only. Number 18, only 80% of the Viking children survived past 5 years old. If a child was sick or weakly, the parents would either abandon the child or throw them into the sea. This was due to the strong pride Vikings took in strength and power. Number 19, there is a remote valley in Sweden where an ancient Viking dialect of Old Norse is still spoken. Number 20, the Bluetooth symbol is an old Viking rune. They represent the initials of a Viking king. Number 21, Greenland was discovered by the Vikings centuries before the Inuit arrived. However, when the Inuit started moving south, they attacked and collapsed the Norse settlements. Number 22, there was an ancient Viking king who took Christmas so seriously that his subjects were forced to drink ale throughout the holidays. Anyone who didn't was fined. Number 23, when the Vikings got together to make laws and settle disputes, it was a meeting called Thing. Number 24, one of the Viking kings once ruled as the king of England for 5 weeks. Number 25, in order to tell how bad a battle wound was, Viking women would feed an injured warrior a broth with potent onions. After eating it, if they could smell the broth through the wound, they knew it was too deep and there was no way to fix it. Number 26, the most prized weapons of the Vikings were the long swords. They would often name their swords things like Widowmaker and Corpse Bramble. The swords would often be passed down through the generations. Number 27, the Vikings are notorious for their impressive boat building skills for their time. They invented the keel as well as central spines down the underside of the boat to make the vessel more stable. Number 28, some of the Viking runes are just forms of graffiti such as Thorfir Kolbensson carved these runes high up. Number 29, pottery was thought to be a gift from Odin. The Vikings ultimately invented rap battle during the fifth known as flyting. It's a poetic exchange of insults, often targeting cowardice or perversion. Number 30, the national sport of Iceland is gilma, which is a Scandinavian martial arts used by the Vikings. There you go, 30 facts about the Vikings, and I tell you, as I studied these, I probably learned about 29 of these things. These were some amazing facts about the Vikings. Thank you very much, and you have an